Today we're taking a look at an MVP driver that I recommend to pretty much everyone, and that is the MVP Wave. The Wave is a disc that I've really fallen in love with over the past few months, and I really feel like it's a great fit for so many people. So we're gonna be talking all about that starting on this first hole, 335-foot par 3, uphill, bends to the right. Wave has the numbers 11, 5, -2, 2, so it's got some understability, really helps get that max distance, really helps on holes like this that bend to the right as well. We're gonna start with the 172 gram Proton. And you see all that turn, we're getting way to the right. That's awesome. I feel like the Proton Wave in that 170-ish gram category is like the quintessential wave, where you get plenty of turn, but at the same time, you still have that integrity, comes back a little bit at the end. You see that 2 fade. Next, we're gonna throw my Neutron Wave. This is 165 grams, so it's a bit lightweight. Oh, we got through the sneaky gap. You can see how crazy understable that one is. We got lucky on that one, but the understability on that lightweight wave is crazy, but so much fun. Now let's go Eclipse, 172 grams. And the Eclipse one is very different from the other ones. Quite overstable compared to your typical wave. And it has been so hard for me to find distance drivers that I really resonate with. Last year I was using like a lightweight nuke for all like my max distance throws. But when I was bagging discs like the Nuke, the Destroyer, wide-rimmed, overstable distance drivers, I found that I was changing my form quite a bit from when I was throwing those discs versus the rest of my drivers. And for me, that was really hurting my consistency. 585-foot par 4, want to get left here. Start with Proton. Oh, and look at that flip up. That is so beautiful. I love the flip up on these Proton waves. Now let's go Neutron. Need lots of hyzer on the Neutron. And look at that guy turn all the way over. That is a bomber. I love that I can start on hyzer and it gets the full flex even on the hyzer angle. That is a crazy, crazy disc. Let's go Eclipse. Eclipse a lot more overstable. This is more like an anhyzer flex disc compared to those other waves, which I can hyzer flip those ones for max distance. This one, no way. Come on, get through there, yeah. Threw that one high, definitely way too high, but you can see, I mean, that was an anhyzer flex through and through. Because when I look back on my best tournament in recent memory, that was Ledgestone last year, got 4th in MA2, averaged like 960 golf, which for me, that's great. All of my worst shots, all of my bad shots were distance driver shots. We're gonna go deflector up shot here. And for me, I feel like the problem was that I'd go like 6, 7, 8 holes just throwing like my mid-ranges, my putters, my fairway drivers. And then we'd come to a hole that just demanded a max distance shot. And there were really only a couple of those holes on each course. And I feel like I had to change the way I was throwing so much between my typical throws and my nuke shots. Because for me to get that max distance with the disc like the Nuke, I had to change the way I was throwing, the way I was releasing the disc to actually see all that turn that I wanted. Because for me to see the turn on the Nuke, I'd basically have to anhyzer flex it and throw it as hard as I can, which is just not how stylistically I really throw. I'm much more of a hyzer flip player. So I was basically forcing myself to change up my form drastically on just these couple shots each round, which really hurt my consistency. They were all over the place, wildly inconsistent. And that's where the Wave comes in, because the Wave, it's a slimmer rimmed disc, being an 11 speed versus like a 13 speed, like a Nuke. It's also a lot more understable than something like the Nuke. So for me, it matches my natural release in the way that's most comfortable for me to throw, the way that kind of involves the most muscle memory that I've built up over the years, because I can throw it on hyzer and still get those maximum distance lines versus the Nuke where I had to change everything up to get that max distance. We're gonna go Neutron on this one, go hyzer flip. Look at that turn. I mean, that's such a beautiful flight. I love that disc. It is so fun. Heck yeah, we did make it across. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to throw distance shots in the way that I do. I'm definitely not an authority on distance drivers. Oh, You might be someone who thrives on the Anheuser Flex, which is totally fine. A lot of players do really well with that Anheuser Flex for max distance. But guys like me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, aren't consistently throwing over 400 feet, in which case discs like the Nuke and the Destroyer, when they're at heavier weights, are pretty much impossible to get that full flexing flight. So going with something a little bit flippier like the Wave, I can get that max flight with that slightly lower arm speed. I say slightly, just a lower arm speed, definitely lower than the guys who are really pumping out nukes there well. Uphill, bends off to the right. Another great one for the Neutron lightweight Wave. Look at all that turn. That's an absolute beauty. And because it's uphill, we got the little flex out at the end, faded really nicely. We're probably right next to the basket. So comment down below what your max distance disc is. Are you someone like me who likes a flippier disc to get that max distance, or do you Anheuser Flex? Do you kind of need an overstable disc to hold up to the flex line? The one thing that I would change about the Wave is that all three of mine and all the ones I've seen in person in the stores are all super flat. I like my Domi drivers. I feel like that really helps with the glide to get max distance. The Wave gets good glide, like I get great distance with it, despite the fact that they are all super flat. But MVP's been making Domier discs lately, so I feel like it's only a matter of time before we start seeing those Domi Waves come out, which I'm really excited for. 330-foot dog leg to the right. You need something super flippy or an overstable forehand to really get over there. Actually, I'm changing my mind. I'm not going Neutron. I'm going Proton because I feel like that Neutron might be too flippy, where if I put it out too flat, it might turn into a roller. Proton I can lay into a little bit harder, flat to a little bit of Anheuser. It's going to hold the line longer than the Neutron. Hold! Oh, that's beautiful. Look at it get down there. So much turn when I put it out flat. That was exquisite. Let's go Eclipse on the forehand. I will say the one thing about that flat top, helps with the forehand grip. I like the flat a little bit more than the dome. But I don't really forehand my distance drivers very much, so it doesn't come up often. Yeah, that's nice. See, look, I mean, that stands up to the power really well. Like, that one does not get much flip at all compared to your typical Wave. So watch out for that. I've heard the same thing about the newer Eclipse runs. That's the Halloween edition last year. But I believe even the new Eclipse ones are pretty overstable compared to other Waves. The forehand did not get right enough, which is what I figured. You really need like a panning backhand to get right enough on this dog leg. Super pumped where this Proton one ended up. I mean, it doesn't matter how good your drive is if you putt like that. All right, tough hole here. Not a great bounce back hole after that putt. This is a 365-foot par 3. There's not really a clear line though. Basket way off to the left and deep. You really have to go up, high, and right through these trees and kind of hyzer it in. But it's a tough shot, and I freaking lose discs on this hole all the time in the trees. So we're just gonna really hope that doesn't happen here. They're gonna do a Proton. I think Neutron might be a little too flippy. We still wanna be able to get left at the end, but we are throwing high up in the air, which definitely makes this whole play a lot longer than it really is. Oh, I threw that one low. Oh, but it worked out. The low line worked out. I go higher because it kind of maximizes the space between the trees, but if you can hit the gap like that, then low all day is the play. And that leaves us with a nice routine upshot here. Gonna go with my pitch. And if you are someone who's throwing consistently in that like 425-foot plus range for your max distance drives, the Wave's definitely going to fulfill a different purpose for you. But a disc like this can still be really useful. It's flippy, it's fantastic for shot shaping at those longer distances, or even like a roller. I'm pretty sure either Simon or Eagle uses the Wave for their backhand rollers. So regardless of arm speed, I think the Wave is a good choice. I just think it's kind of maximizes its usefulness in that like sub 400-foot category. Beyond that, if you're throwing it as hard as you can, it's probably gonna be turning over a lot more than you'd want for your max distance disc. But that's why I think it's good for kind of everyone, because it serves different purposes for different people. For the majority of people, though, it's gonna be a great max distance driver. But this is a 265-foot par 3. It's kind of a short one, not really something I'd be throwing the Wave on, but we're here, so let's do it. We're actually gonna go Neutron, because I don't have to throw it quite as hard to get a very usable line. Flip, 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 flip. Look at that flip. I mean, I did not throw that hard at all. That was very much like a 50% power throw. That's like what I'd throw like pretty much a putter at. And it still got all that flip. Probably still went too far. Probably went out of bounds long. Well, we did go out of bounds pretty far long here. So I'm just gonna take it. A little OB stroke, bring it back inbounds here. 1, 2, 3. 225-foot par 3, bends to the right, down near the OB road. This is another shorty. Again, I would not be throwing a wave here, but the eclipse on the forehand ought to work pretty well though. Now just get right. Oh, I think we went too far. That's the problem with throwing a distance drive in a really short hole. That's why I like to go mid there, something like a matrix, because if you go too straight for too long, you hit these trees, but this still worked out pretty well actually. We're still on the edge of circle, which is not too shabby. Hey, there we go. We're putting. We're putting again, guys. There we go. So if you're a wave enjoyer, why don't you let me know down in the comments. But again, if you like a different distance driver for your max distance slot, why don't you also let me know that down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing. That'd be awesome. You can also follow me on Instagram at Flying Fajita Disc Golf or UDisc Community at Flying Fajita. As always, guys, I love you, take care, and I'll see you next time.